I never thought a simple trip with my only son, Alex, could hide a secret that would turn our lives upside down. We were checking into a small, cozy hotel on a holiday, a plan I hoped would bring us closer and mend some of the silent gaps between us. The lobby was warm, with soft lights and gentle music playing in the background, making it feel like a safe haven. I felt a mix of excitement and worry as I watched Alex pull his small suitcase behind him. From the moment we arrived, something felt different. I noticed Alex lingering by the front desk, his eyes darting around as if he was searching for something or someone. My heart beat faster as I tried to place the tension in his movements. Was he happy, or was there something on his mind that he wasn't saying? I smiled at him, trying to show that everything was okay, but inside I was not so sure. As we placed our bags in the room, I remembered the reason for our trip. It wasn't just about leaving our daily routines. It was about hiding a secret that had become a heavy burden on my heart. I had met someone special, Emma, a few months back, and she had become more than a friend to me. I wanted to keep this hidden from Alex because I feared his reaction and didn't want to hurt him with the truth. But secrets have a way of weighing down every moment, and I could feel its presence even in the bright smile I gave him. The room was small but comfortable, with a large window that showed a peaceful street outside. I unpacked my things while Alex explored the hotel. I watched him from the doorway, feeling a mix of love and worry for him. He was growing up so fast, and I wanted nothing more than to be the best father I could be. But as I looked at him, I realized that I was not being fully honest with him about what was happening in my life. During dinner that evening in the hotel's small restaurant, the conversation felt lighter than usual. Alex talked about his school, his friends, and the little adventures he hoped to have on our holiday. I listened intently, savoring each word, trying to keep my secret tucked away in the recesses of my mind. Yet sometimes, when he looked at me, I caught a hint of something in his eyes, spark of knowingness, or maybe just the light reflecting off the candle on the table. I wasn't sure, but it made me uneasy. I often wondered if he sensed that something was off. Did he know about Emma? The possibility made my stomach twist with fear. I remembered how he hugged me tightly when we first came to the hotel, his small arms wrapping around my waist, trusting me completely. That trust was both beautiful and terrifying, because I knew I might break it soon with the truth. The next morning, we planned a small adventure around the city near the hotel. I asked Alex what he wanted to see, and he eagerly suggested a park with a beautiful fountain and a playground. We walked to the park, his laughter echoing in the air as he chased pigeons. His joy so pure that it made me smile even though my heart was heavy. With each step, I tried to push away my worries, but they clung to me like a shadow I couldn't shake off. While we sat on a bench watching the water sparkle in the sun, I thought about the conversation that awaited me with Alex someday. The secret with Emma was not just about breaking trust. It felt like I was setting a stage for a dramatic change in our lives, one we might not be able to handle. I kept these thoughts to myself, sharing only smiles and small anecdotes to keep the day light and pleasant. I hoped that by the end of the holiday, I would find the right moment to talk to him, but I did not yet know how or when that moment would come. As afternoon turned to evening, we returned to the hotel. The corridor was quiet, and I noticed the small details, faded pictures on the walls, the gentle creak of the floor as we walked. I led Alex to our room, trying to seem calm and collected. He was curious about everything, which reminded me of a time when I too was curious and hopeful about the world. But now, the weight of my secret made me cautious with every word I spoke, fearing that a slip-up might reveal what I was trying so hard to keep hidden. Later that night, lying in bed with the soft hum of the air conditioner above, I stared at the ceiling, wondering if Alex would ever sense something was wrong. The quiet was broken only by the occasional sigh from my son as he slept beside me. I felt a pang of guilt even in the silence, as if our peaceful moment was a fragile bubble that could burst at any second. In the darkness, My mind replayed small details from the day, looking for signs that might hint at what Alex was thinking. His faint breathing under the covers made me want to protect him at all costs. But my secret was a barrier between us that I hadn't yet found the strength to break. I touched his hand, feeling the warmth, and silently promised that I would find a way to make things right. I hoped that the bond between us would survive whatever came next. But I knew that the truth about Emma was a storm waiting to happen, one that could rain on our sunny holiday. As the night deepened, I imagined the day ahead. What small adventures could we plan to keep the spirit of the holiday alive? And how could I gently steer our conversation away from topics that might lead to questions I wasn't ready to answer? I planned a series of little surprises for Alex, like a visit to an ice cream shop he mentioned and a walk by the river, where he could throw stones into the water. These small joys were my way of shielding him from the dark cloud of my secret, at least for a little while longer. I woke up early the next morning with a sense of determination. Today was a new day, and maybe it was the right time to say something to Alex, to hint at what was going on without giving everything away. But as I looked at his sleeping face, so peaceful and trusting, I felt that moment slip away. Instead, I focused on making the day as enjoyable as possible for him. We had breakfast at a nearby cafe, where the smell of fresh bread and the sound of lively chatter filled the air. I watched as Alex laughed at something the waiter said, his joy pure and untainted by the heavy secret I carried. It was a bittersweet moment because, while I was happy for him, I felt the sting of the hidden truth between us. In these few days, I noticed little things that made me think Alex might be sensing more than he let on. A strange look he gave me when I glanced at his phone, a question about an unexpected call that seemed to come from someone he knew, or the way he would sometimes freeze for a second, as if trying to remember something important. Each of these moments made my heart race with a blend of hope and dread. I hoped he wouldn't push for the answers I was scared to give, but at the same time, I wondered if he was piecing together clues of his own. After breakfast, we walked down a quiet street lined with trees and small shops. The sun was warm on our faces, and for a while, it felt like nothing could go wrong. But as we turned a corner near a little boutique, I saw a familiar figure looking at the window. My heart skipped a beat. I couldn't be sure, but it looked like someone I knew from before, someone who might know about Emma. I quickly moved Alex away, trying to hide my concern behind a friendly conversation about the colorful clothes in the display. As we continued our walk, I kept glancing back, feeling a mix of fear and curiosity. What was that person doing there? Did they know my secret? The thought troubled me, but I couldn't let it show on my face. I answered Alex's excited questions about the street musician playing near the fountain, all the while feeling as if I was walking a tightrope, balancing our pleasant day with the looming threat of my truth coming to light. We stopped for a moment at a small park, the sound of children playing in the distance reminding me of simpler times. Alex wanted to play too, so we joined a group of kids for a quick game, laughing and sharing stories. It was a brief escape from the tension in my heart, a reminder of the joy in small moments. But even then, I felt a subtle itch at the back of my mind, as if someone was watching me, waiting for a mistake. As afternoon approached, we decided to return to the hotel so that Alex could rest before dinner. I watched him fall asleep on the couch, clutching his favorite stuffed bear, and I sighed. I felt a mix of relief that he was safe, and a heavy burden knowing that I was hiding so much from him. I paced around the quiet hotel room, thinking of how I could bring up a conversation with Alex about feelings and secrets without letting him know the full extent of the trouble ahead. I glanced at the closed door of the bathroom, remembering a moment when I had almost told him everything, but then stopped myself. Was I brave enough to tell him? What if he was hurt by my words? The thought of hurting him made my heart ache, but keeping the secret was also slowly breaking me inside. It was a painful tug-of-war between honesty and protection, one that left me feeling lost in my own story. The day slowly faded into the early evening, and I knew that night might bring more changes than I was ready for. I wondered what would happen when we returned to the lobby later. If I might finally see someone unexpected, or if Alex might find a clue that I had missed. I tried to focus on our good moments, like his bright smile when we tasted a new flavor of ice cream, or his curious questions about the world around him. As I drifted off to sleep, I promised myself that I would find a way to protect Alex and keep our bond strong, even if it meant facing the consequences of my secret. The future was uncertain, and I didn't know what twists lay ahead. But I knew one thing for sure. This trip with Alex was about to change everything, and I was not ready for what I might uncover about our relationship and my own heart. I walked into the hotel lobby, and my heart started pounding fast. I saw Emma standing close to Alex. The sight made me freeze for a moment. I didn't know what to do. I knew Emma and I had a secret, and now I saw her with my son. I felt a mix of shock and curiosity. How could this be happening? I was not ready to face what was unfolding right before my eyes. I moved slowly, trying to pretend everything was normal. Each step felt heavy. My mind raced with questions. Why was Emma here with Alex? Were they talking about something important? I could sense there was something in the air that was different from before. There was a strange look on Emma's face, and Alex seemed tense too. There were so many things I couldn't understand. As I got closer, I heard them talking in quiet voices. Their words were just out of reach, like a secret hidden behind a wall. I felt a tremor of fear inside me. I was not sure if I should interrupt, but something inside me pushed me forward. What if I missed the truth? I remembered the day I had met Emma. She was kind and sweet, and she made me feel special. But I never imagined that she and my son would share a secret moment. My mind spun with the possibilities. Could they have been planning something? Was it all just a coincidence? I felt like I was in a dream that turned into a nightmare. Emma saw me approach, and her face changed. I saw a flicker of worry in her eyes. Alex stepped back slightly, his face showing surprise. My heart hurt a little. I didn't know if I should smile or run away. I wanted answers, but I feared what those answers might bring. I took a deep breath and greeted them. "Hi, Emma. Hi, Alex," I said. My voice was calm, but inside I was filled with questions. I noticed Emma looked at Alex before answering me. There was a pause. Alex looked at me with eyes that were hard to read. Emma spoke first. "Hello. We were just talking about the plans for today." Her voice was light, but I could tell she was nervous. I nodded and tried to smile, although my heart felt heavy. I could not help but wonder about the nature of their conversation. I asked them if they needed help with something. Alex just looked away. I felt like I was pushing for the truth. I didn't want to force something that might not be there. At the same time, curiosity grew inside me. I had to know what they were hiding from me. Emma and Alex exchanged glances. It seemed like they had a secret that they didn't want to share. My mind raced. I thought of all the things that could be happening. Was there another plan for our holiday? Was there something they were afraid to tell me? I felt a pit in my stomach. I tried to make small talk, hoping to ease the tension. "Isn't this a nice place for a holiday?" I asked, but the words felt empty. Neither Emma nor Alex seemed to share my enthusiasm. Their silence added to my confusion. I felt a pressure that made it hard to breathe. I looked around the lobby, trying to gather my thoughts. Everything looked normal, but I knew things were not normal inside. I kept hearing my own heartbeat, loud in my ears. I remembered times when I had no worries, when life was simpler. Now it felt like I was in the middle of a storm and I couldn't see the shore. Emma suddenly mentioned something about the next day. We were thinking of going to the nearby park tomorrow. Her words surprised me. Why would they need to plan alone? I noticed a spark in her eyes when she said it. It was as if she knew something I didn't. I wondered if this was a plan that involved me later, or if they were planning without me. Alex nodded, but he did not say anything more. His silence made the situation more mysterious. I could feel an uneasy feeling growing stronger. What if they had set up something that would hurt me? But why would they do that? I couldn't think of reasons that made sense. Time seemed to slow down. I looked at Emma and tried to read her expression. She seemed sad, but also determined. It was hard to tell what she was feeling. I wondered if she was hiding tears. Each detail seemed to carry a hidden meaning that I couldn't decipher. I saw Alex fidget with his hands, like he wanted to say something but couldn't. His body language was confusing. Was he nervous because he had something to confess? Or was he afraid of how I would react? I wanted to ask him, but I also wanted to give him space. This was too heavy a moment, and I didn't want to push too hard. Suddenly, Emma stepped closer to me and said softly, "We have something important to tell you." My heart skipped a beat. I felt a mix of hope and dread. What did they want to tell me? Was it something that could change our holiday forever? I prepared myself for whatever was coming next. I nodded slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm listening," I said. The words came out softer than I intended. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, not knowing if I should jump. I was caught between fear and the desire to know the truth. Emma took a deep breath. She looked at Alex, then back at me. Her eyes were filled with emotion. For a moment I thought she might confess something right then and there, but she hesitated. The silence stretched out, heavy and thick. Then Alex spoke up. "Dad, there's something I need to share with you," he began. The sound of his voice was shaky. I could tell he was scared too. I didn't know what to expect from his next words. My heart pounded louder, and I felt a cold sweat on my back. He continued, "It's about Emma and how we met." My stomach tightened. I knew this was the part I had feared, but I also knew that I needed to hear him out. I nodded slightly, signaling him to go on, even though I felt like my world was about to change. Alex told a story about a chance meeting with Emma. He spoke of moments of kindness she had shown him when he was younger. He mentioned how she had been a friend to him, and how that friendship had grown over time. I listened carefully, but I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more underneath his story. His voice trembled with emotion as he spoke, and I could see tears welling up in his eyes. Every word he said made me more curious and scared at the same time. He spoke of laughter and trust, of secrets shared in quiet moments. As he spoke, I realized that the story was turning into a confession I had not expected. His tone shifted from calm to troubled, and I knew we were approaching a moment that would change everything. I tried to steady my breath, but it was hard. I leaned on the reception desk for support, feeling the weight of this conversation. The lobby around us seemed to fade away. People passed by, but I only had eyes for Emma and Alex. There was a heavy silence that spoke louder than words. Then Alex said something that made my heart sink. "I found out about your secret," he whispered. I felt like the floor beneath me was shifting. My secret with Emma was not just between us anymore. Now it was between me. I looked at him in disbelief, my mind racing with questions. How long had he known? Why hadn't he said anything before now? Alex continued. "I've seen messages and heard things that made me realize you were in love with someone else when you promised to love me first." His words hit me hard. I felt like tears were coming. I remembered all the times I had tried to hide my feelings, thinking I was protecting both of us. Instead, I had hurt the one person I cared about the most. I tried to find the right words to respond, but my throat was dry. I thought of all the times I could have been a better father, but instead I had caused this pain. I looked at Emma, whose face was filled with a mix of guilt and concern. It was clear she did not expect this confession to go this way either. The truth was coming out slowly, and it felt like unwrapping a painful gift. I remembered a moment when Emma had looked at me with a kind smile, and I thought everything was okay. But now, as I listened to Alex, I felt like I was trapped in a situation with no easy way out. Alex's confession pulled me in deeper. I wanted to reach out and comfort him, but I was scared of what might happen if I did. I didn't know how to make things right. Every moment felt like a tightrope walk over a big fall. I was trying to understand how we all ended up here, tangled in a web of secrets and hurt feelings. I looked at Emma, hoping she could explain. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment, I saw a glimmer of the truth behind her actions. It was as if she was also caught in the middle of this mess. But she kept silent, leaving more questions than answers. I wanted to ask her, but the words were stuck in my throat. Time seemed to slow down as I waited for someone to speak. I could feel the tension in the air. It was a heavy feeling, like a dark cloud hovering over us. I thought about all the good times we had before this moment. I thought about how our lives had changed so drastically in just a few words. As I gathered my thoughts, Emma finally spoke. "I never meant for things to get this bad," she said softly. Her voice was full of regret. She explained that she cared for both of us in her own way, and she did not intend to cause harm. But her words could not fix what was already broken. I listened carefully, trying to piece together the truth from her words. The conversation shifted from angry confessions to quiet explanations. Emma talked about how she had felt lost and confused, and how sometimes she acted in ways that hurt those around her. Her admission hit me like a cold wave. It was hard to hear, but I knew we needed to face the truth. Alex and I exchanged glances. There was pain in his eyes, and I saw that he was trying to hold back his tears. My own eyes felt heavy, but I tried to stay strong for him. I wanted to be the father he needed, even though I felt I had failed him. I could see the confusion on his face and the same confusion in mine. We were both trying to understand the tangled web of love, betrayal, and hurt. I remembered that moment at the reception desk when I realized the gravity of the situation. The weight of our family's secret was too much to carry alone. I needed to find a way to share it, to let go of the burden and try to mend the damage done. But how could I do that when I wasn't sure where to start? Suddenly, a memory flashed before my eyes, a moment when Alex and I used to laugh together, without any secrets between us. That memory gave me hope that maybe, just maybe, we could find a way out of this dark maze. I knew that understanding and forgiveness would not come easily, but it had to start somewhere. As I looked at Alex now, I saw a young man who was hurt but still willing to find a path forward. I wanted to tell him that I was sorry, that I understood his pain, and that I wanted to make things right. But the right words eluded me. I didn't know if I could say enough to heal the wounds. The conversation shifted again. Alex asked softly, "Dad, what should we do now?" His question hung in the air like a fragile thread. I realized that this was the moment that would set the course for our next steps. We were at a crossroads, and the choices we made now would shape our future. I thought about the day ahead. We were supposed to enjoy our holiday, but everything had changed. I had to decide if I would try to fix our broken trust or let the secrets ruin our relationship. My mind was filled with uncertainty, but I knew I had to answer Alex's question. I took a deep breath and replied, "I don't know the right way yet, but we have to try together." My voice was trembling. I suggested that we spend some time alone to talk more, to share our feelings without fear. I wanted to create a safe space where we could begin to heal, even if the road ahead was long and hard. Emma listened to our exchange, and I saw a glimmer of relief in her eyes. It seemed that she too wanted to help mend the broken bonds. For a while the three of us stood together, the silence broken only by the soft hum of the lobby around us. I realized that we were standing on the edge of a journey that would test our courage, but maybe lead us to forgiveness. I looked out the window of the lobby and saw the sun beginning to set. It was a beautiful sight, but all I could think about was the storm inside me. I felt like I was holding onto a fragile thread of hope, one that could snap at any moment. But I knew I had to keep going. I had to find a way to rebuild trust, even if it seemed impossible. The moment was heavy with unspoken words and hidden feelings. I wanted to reach out and take Alex's hand, to show him that I was there for him despite everything. But the doubt held me back. What if he did not want to hold my hand anymore? What if the bond between us was too broken? These thoughts kept swirling in my mind, making it hard to decide my next move. I finally looked at Alex and said, "Let's go to our room and talk more there. I think we need some quiet time away from everyone." He nodded, and we slowly walked away from Emma, leaving her by herself for a moment. The hallway was quiet, and the sound of our footsteps echoed off the walls. Each step took us closer to a new moment of truth. In our hotel room, the tension was still high. I closed the door behind us and faced Alex. "I'm sorry for everything," I began, but my voice cracked. It was hard to say that, even though it was true. Alex looked at me with tears in his eyes, and I knew that this was just the beginning of a long conversation. We sat down on the bed, not saying much at first. I saw his eyes filled with hurt and confusion, and I knew I needed to listen. I encouraged him to tell me how he felt, and slowly he began to speak. He talked about feeling abandoned, about how our time together seemed to lose its meaning because of the secrets between us. Each word he spoke was a window into his pain, and my heart ached with each one. I listened carefully, nodding and letting him know that I understood. I tried to make sense of everything he said, even if it hurt to hear the truth. I shared my own feelings too, trying to explain that I never meant to hurt him. The conversation was filled with tears and long pauses. We sometimes struggled to find the right words, but the honesty in the room was a small comfort. As we talked, I realized that our relationship had been built on layers of silence and hidden feelings. It was like we had been living on different floors of the same house, never really meeting on the same level. Now we had a chance to come down the stairs and truly talk face to face. I hoped that this moment would be the start of rebuilding the connection we had lost. We spent a long time sharing our thoughts. There were moments when the room was filled with tears, and moments when we tried to laugh despite the heaviness. I found myself telling him stories from my past, stories I had kept hidden for years, thinking they would hurt him. I realized that sharing even the smallest truth was better than carrying a secret. Ate away at our bond. The night grew deeper, and outside, the rain began to fall softly against the window. The sound of raindrops was soothing, almost like nature's way of wiping away the tears we shed. We took comfort in that gentle sound, feeling that maybe, just like the rain, our pain could wash away if we let it. After hours of talking, we finally reached a point where we felt a bit lighter. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time, I felt that we were moving in the right direction. We made a promise to try and be more open with each other, to not let secrets build walls between us again. Even though the hurt was still there, the promise of a better future gave us hope. I looked at Alex with a mix of sadness and determination. I knew that fixing our relationship would take time, but I was ready to try. The events of that day had changed everything, and there were still so many questions left unanswered. But in that quiet room, with the soft sound of rain in the background, I felt a small spark of hope. I stepped outside for a moment to get some fresh air. The cool breeze calmed my racing heart. I thought about Emma and how our lives were now connected in ways I never imagined. There was still so much to learn about why things had happened the way they did and how we would move forward. The night was dark, but there were stars shining above, reminding me that even in the darkest times, there was light waiting to guide us. As I returned to the room, I felt a new sense of resolve. I didn't know how all of this would end, but I knew that we couldn't hide from the truth any longer. The secrets had caused too much pain. I was ready to face whatever came next, to accept that our holiday had become a turning point in our lives. The journey was just beginning, and though it was filled with twists and turns, I believed that together we could find a way to heal. In that moment, I promised myself that I would do everything I could to make things right. The path ahead was unclear, but I knew one thing for sure. This experience had taught me the value of honesty, trust, and the deep bond between a father and his son. Even when faced with unexpected and painful truths, we must find the strength to move forward, one step at a time. I found myself standing outside a small door in the quiet hotel hallway. My heart pounded fast. I had just spoken to Emma, and I knew I needed to talk to Alex alone. The air felt thick with worry and pain. I took a deep breath and knocked softly on his door. I did not know what he would say, but I had to ask. I thought, could he really say what I fear? You won't believe what happened next. The door opened slowly. There was Alex, his face pale and worried. He looked at me with eyes that seemed to hide a secret. I stepped inside the room, trying to calm my trembling hands. The room was small and dimly lit. A simple bed, a desk, and a chair filled the space. I sat down on the edge of his bed, my heart heavy. I looked at him and said, "Alex, we need to talk." His silence made my chest tighten. I wanted to ask many questions, but my voice caught in my throat. I struggled to find the right words. The silence between us felt long and heavy. I thought, this moment could change everything. What if I hear the truth? I kept my tone soft so he would open up. Alex nodded slowly and looked away. I could tell he was scared to speak. After a few seconds, Alex took a deep breath. He looked at his hands and then at me, as if he was gathering courage. I listened closely, my mind racing with possibilities. "Dad," he finally started, "there is something I need to tell you." Those words hit me like a wave. I leaned in, hoping to catch every word. "What is it, son?" I asked softly. I felt my heart beating so loudly, I feared Alex could hear it. He hesitated a moment, and then said, "I did not want to hurt you, but I have been keeping a secret." My mind filled with questions. I felt a knot in my stomach. The suspense was so strong that I struggled to breathe. I kept my face calm, but inside I was swirling with emotions. "Tell me, Alex," I urged gently. "Whatever it is, we can face it together." His eyes filled with tears and his voice quivered. "Dad, I met someone. A girl named Emma." Those 3 words made my world spin. My thoughts raced. How could he tell me this? I had known Emma well. My heart ached as I tried to piece together what this meant. "You met Emma," I whispered. I felt like my hands were trembling. Alex nodded slowly. He looked down at the floor, his cheeks wet with tears. I could see his pain and fear. I sat quietly for a moment, trying to soak in what he said. The truth was heavy. I wondered if I had seen this coming or if this was completely new. My mind played back all the hints I had noticed in the last few days. Now they made sense, but the pain was sharp, he continued. "I did not know what to do when I first saw her. I was confused, and I thought maybe she could be a friend. But then I realized she was more than that." I felt a strange mix of sadness and anger. I looked at him and tried to speak calmly. "How did this happen, Alex? When did you find out it was more than a friendship?" But I feared the answer. Alex looked up at me with tears in his eyes. "I met her by chance in the hotel lobby. She seemed kind and friendly. We talked and I felt safe with her. But soon I started to feel something else. I started to like her in a way that I knew was not right. I could feel the tension in the small room. The truth was painful and hard to accept. I tried to steady my voice. "I know how you feel, but this has hurt both of us more than you can imagine." My words were simple but heavy with emotion. I remembered my own secret with Emma and how it had torn my world apart. I looked at Alex and saw the same fear and confusion that had once lived in me. "You must have many questions," I said, trying to be gentle. "I do," he whispered. Alex's confession was like a door opening to a dark room. As he spoke, I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. I remembered many moments when I had felt guilty about my choices. Now I was in the same situation. "How did you tell me?" I asked quietly, trying to hide the trembling in my voice. I hoped for honesty, even if it was painful. I was not sure how much more I could handle. He looked at me for a long time before answering. "I wanted to tell you sooner, but I was scared. I thought you would be angry or disappointed, but keeping it a secret made things worse." His voice broke on the last words. I felt tears well up in my eyes. I understood his fear. I too had feared his reaction if I had told him about my secret. Now we were sharing this burden. The silence stretched between us. I could feel the walls closing in. I wanted to comfort him, but I was hurting too. I wanted to cry out, "We will find a way," but I did not have the strength yet. I thought, there is so much at stake here. Will our bond survive this? Those thoughts kept echoing in my mind. I don't know what to do, and I don't know what to think of it. What are your thoughts on it? I'm curious about other people's opinions on this, and that's why I am telling this story. It is crazy what happened, but I can't deny it. On top of that, I am never able to turn things back.